Hey guys, welcome back. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm so happy that you guys are here again with me. Today I want to talk about Clay Aiken from North Carolina, who was the runner-up in the singing contest American Idol about 20 years ago or so, who ran for Congress back in 2014 in his home state of North Carolina, has decided 3 days ago, come out publicly saying that he is going to run again for Congress in North Carolina's 6th district, I believe it is. The newly drawn NC6 is where he will be running. So I want to talk about my feelings with that. I'm going to play a couple clips, his announcement video, which can be found on his YouTube channel, and his first national television spot, which was on The View yesterday, I believe it was, or day before yesterday, discussing why he is running for Congress. So I'm going to play these clips, and then I'm going to come back and give you guys my commentary on that. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you being here. Let's get into it.
Hey folks, it's been a while. Now, I know I look a little different these days, but we've met before. I'm Clay Aiken. Most of you probably remember me like this. Skinny. Back in those days, I was a bright-eyed kid from North Carolina on my way to becoming a special ed teacher, and then that little singing competition changed everything for me. That was almost 20 years ago. Can you believe that? A lot can happen in 20 years. Back when we first met, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, thank God. There was no smartphone. The most popular cell phone in America actually looked like this. And I can guarantee you that unless you lived in Illinois, you didn't even know who this guy was. A lot has changed for me too. I came home, I came out, I became a father. These days, my life looks a lot more like yours than Justin Bieber's, that I can promise you. But one thing that has never changed for me is how much I love my home state. North Carolina is the place where I discovered first that I had a voice, and that it was a voice that could be used for more than singing. You know, for decades, North Carolina was actually the progressive beacon in the South. We had the best roads and the best schools because back then the loudest voices in our government were progressives who actually made sure our state was always moving forward. But then things changed and the progressives lost power, and we started getting backwards-ass policies like the voter suppression bills and the bigoted bathroom bill. Because today, it seems like the loudest voices in North Carolina politics are white nationalists like this guy.
My friends, I encourage you, continue to make your voice heard, because do we love Donald Trump?
And hateful homophobes like this one.
What is the purpose of homosexuality? What does it create?
And now we all know it's not just a North Carolina thing. For every Madison and Mark in North Carolina, there's a Marjorie in Georgia or a Lauren in Colorado. And these folks are taking up all the oxygen in the room. And I'm going to tell you, I am sick of it. And I'll tell you something else. As Democrats, we have got to get better about speaking up and using our voices. Because those folks ain't quieting down anytime soon. That's why I'm running for Congress. Here in this community that raised me and where I first discovered my voice. We, as level-headed, open-minded, and compassionate Democrats, we have always been the party of all Americans. We have always been the big tent, and we've got to continue to be that. Because from stopping climate change and systemic racism and income inequality and gun violence to securing voting rights and free health care and a woman's right to choose, we are the ones who are going to solve the country's biggest problems. And we are the ones who are going to defend our most precious rights. And just think how excited these guys are going to be when we elect the South's first gay congressman. Make them proud. Go to clayaiken.com and chip in a few bucks to add your voice to our historic campaign. Because if the loudest and most hateful voices think they're going to speak for us, just tell them I'm warming up the old vocal cords. How's that for purpose, big fella?
He announced he's running for Congress in North Carolina. And we're glad he's here, making us his first campaign stop on national TV. So please welcome back the always fabulous Clay Aiken. Hello, Clay.
Hey, Whoopi, where else would I go first?
Well, that's what I would say, too. But, honey, why are you doing this again?
Because I think it's important that, I mean, we've gotten so divided over the past 6 years, even more so than we were in 2014. And, you know, now I call friends who are in New York or California and I ask them to come to North Carolina to visit, and they are constantly saying, you know, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable in North Carolina, and that pisses me off. I mean, because our state, which has always been this progressive state, is now sort of synonymous with names like Madison Cawthorn and Mark Meadows, and it just really upsets me that our state has become represented by these people who don't represent me, and, you know, this was the moment to do it.
You know, but let's talk reality for a second, because there are 10 other candidates running in your Democratic primary, including 2 North Carolina state senators. So they have a lot of experience in this. And there are people who will say, I'm not one of them. I mean, I don't judge you by that. They'll say that you have no political experience compared to a lot of your opponents. You know, so speak for yourself here. What do you think makes you qualified to be a congressman?
Well, I mean, first, what is experience, right? I mean, what we see right now, the people who are in Congress have lots of political experience, and we see what the hell's happening there. So that's one thing. But I also think the Congress is set up, House was set up to represent a whole bunch of different views. And experience isn't just in politics. In fact, as I said, it's kind of not a selling point for a lot of people. But I was a teacher, and, you know, think about the stuff I've done on this show. Sonny and I traveled to Charlotte, came back to North Carolina, and talked to people when we had the HB2 bill here in North Carolina. Sonny and I also went to Iowa and talked to current and future voters about divisions in our country. And I think the experience that politicians probably need more of these days is listening to folks in that way. And I've had the opportunity to travel the country, not just as a singer, but fortunately, because I've been able to work some here with you guys at this show, and listen to people about what the real problems are. And I actually think politicians who have spent a lot of time or any time in office are really not doing enough of listening to people.
I think that's right, Clay, and we've become friends, and we've done a lot of work together, and I know where your heart is, and I know where your head is. But, you know, last night, a court in North Carolina rejected the arguments made by Democratic challengers who alleged the state's new congressional maps were illegally gerrymandered to give an advantage to the GOP. North Carolina is just one of many states who have gerrymandered maps or who have enacted laws that will make it harder for Americans to vote. President Biden did make a speech yesterday about voting legislation, but many people feel that he just hasn't done enough in that regard. Do you think he should have done more? Is this too little, too late? Where do we go from here?
Well, you're right. Gerrymandering is a huge problem, and there have been people who've kind of been arguing about and fighting against that for far longer than right now. I ran in 2014, you know, firsthand. One of the reasons I ran in 2014 was to call attention to political and unfair gerrymandering. This North Carolina case is not over. It's going to the Supreme Court, and it'll be decided then, and I have faith in our Supreme Court. But too little, too late, I think is possible. It's not President Biden's fault alone, though. I mean, I think one of the problems we have with politicians right now is that they spend too much time fighting with each other and not getting stuff done, and passing voting rights acts and passing legislation that bans gerrymandering is just sort of another example of us waiting until the house is on fire to buy a fire extinguisher. I mean, Roe v. Wade has been the law of the land since the 70s, and still, almost 50 years later, we have not voted to codify that into law, which Congress could have done many times and should have done many times. And we're now talking about it because we've got this biased Supreme Court at the U.S. level. And, you know, I think we've got to do better, and we've got to stop talking and fighting on cable news and fighting with each other and get some stuff done. This gerrymandering and these voting rights things should have been handled a long time ago, not just now.
Exactly, Clay. 26 House Democrats have announced they are leaving their seats, either to retire or run for other positions. Democrats hold a slim majority in the House, and there is a chance that they will lose that majority at the midterms. What do you think Democrats are doing wrong?
We've got to work on our brand, for sure. You know, I think we've got to work on remembering that we are the big tent. I was just looking earlier to see if I could find my 9th grade class picture. I can't find it, but I actually wore a Democrats T-shirt in 9th grade for my class picture. Very stylish. But I've always wanted to be a Democrat because I knew back in 1992, when I was 13, that the Democrats were the party of the big tent. And I think we've just got to remember that. We talk a lot about the Obama coalition and exciting the base and energizing the cities to show up to vote for Democrats. But we've got to remember that Obama, his coalition, was broader than any Democrat in my lifetimes has been. He won rural counties here in North Carolina that hadn't voted Democrat before or since. Obama's coalition was way bigger than just the urban areas and cities. And I think we've got to remember as Democrats to appeal to those rural areas because our policies are better for them. Our policies are better for everyone, not just people in cities or rural areas. And we've just got to remember to be the big tent and remember to sell those things to everyone.
Yes. So let me ask you this question about Trump, because I know you have a connection to him. We have many Republicans like Madison Cawthorn and the dreaded Marjorie Taylor Greene and the dreaded Matt Gaetz. They are blindly following Trump's lead and perpetuating the big lie that the election was stolen. After I don't know how many audits, they just can't quit it, you know? So you worked with him on The Apprentice. I know him from the old days. And believe me, I never thought he would be this bad, you know, but you worked with him. So why do you think he has such, what is it about him that has such a hold over certain people in the Republican Party? Well, he's a narcissist. I'm sure you remember that even in the times that we knew him before he was president, we knew he was a narcissist. We knew he was a sycophant, and we knew he would kiss whoever's butt was necessary in order to get what he needed. And I think that's what he's sort of done with voters around the country. You know, he doesn't believe some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth. He says it to kiss the butts of those people who he needs and wants to have vote for him. And he's turned evil in the process of doing it. And I think folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Madison Cawthorn are in turn kissing his butt to get something for themselves. And I think that we have to recognize that what Trump is doing is he's appealing to some of these voters who want to be heard, who think that they're not being heard elsewhere, which is ironic because, like I said, what we do as Democrats improves the lives of these same people. So we just got to remind them that we care about them because Trump does not. I mean, Joy, you know Trump doesn't care about anybody but himself.
Clay, real quickly, if you win this election, you would become the first gay man elected to Congress in the South. What does that mean to you?
It is a little bit shocking to think about. It's a little bit humbling to think about. It is really chilling to think that, you know, less than 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, I was on TV and scared to death to even admit to myself that I was gay. And the amount of progress that has been made over the past 20 years, societally, in the media, in everyone's lives, is just, it's astounding. It is heartwarming. It's inspiring. But it's sad to think that there are a lot of states that still would not be able to elect someone to Congress who is openly gay. I'm thrilled that I'm in the one party that actually would, and I'm proud of that. But it is surprising to me how underrepresented LGBT people are in Congress still, and I am thrilled to just even think about the possibility that we can add more to them and do so from a southern state.
Clay, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Okay, and we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed the clips. I really do appreciate Clay Aiken calling out the insanity on the opposition side of Madison Cawthorn, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and these Trump loyalists who continue to sell out our democracy and put their party and their emperor over the good of the country and our democracy. I agree with him on a lot of things that he said. I think that as an LGBTQ member, I am glad to see members of our community willing to be politically active and run for office. I personally think that he should start off on a local or state level and not try to run for national office. That's my own personal opinion. I don't think he has enough political experience personally. Which Joy Behar alluded to, well, come out and said, really. And he kind of shot her down, was like, oh, no one really cares about that. But we just had 4 years of an administration of a quote-unquote famous person in office, and how did that go for us? I would rather have someone who has governmental experience and has put the time and effort into public office than I would to have a singer take office. I don't live in North Carolina, so it doesn't directly affect me. And I'm not discouraging anyone from running for office. You have to feel like you can do good where you can do good at. I've talked to quite a few people over the last few days, both part of the LGBTQ community as well as straight people. And it's been kind of a mixed review on what they think. A lot of the LGBTQ think that he would be very good as the first gay representative of a southern state to hold an office like that. Some straight people think that it's long overdue and that it would send a clear message that Democrats do support the LGBTQ community if he's able to get past a primary. There are 10 other Democrats running against him in the primary, so who knows if he even gets out of the primary. But I do think that if this is what he's going to do, he needs to surround himself with politically savvy, astute people. He needs to be able to hire, if he actually wins, to hire good, knowledgeable staffers who can help him in committee assignments and help him push forward the progressive ideology, honestly. I am a little concerned that it's a ploy for attention, look at me type situation. And I don't really like that. I don't really know how I honestly feel about quote unquote famous people running for political office. I feel like they're capitalizing on the fame that they have to try to get into government. But as he said, the House was set up to represent the common person, so it's good that we have common people in there. So I would like to wish Clay Aiken good luck in this run for Congress. And if you guys want to support him, I'm going to play another video that will be just his campaign website. It's very short. It's about a 2.5 minute clip, just reading through the basics on his website. And from there, I will link the post, and if you want to support him and donate to his campaign, we'll be able to do so. I'm not going to come back after that last clip. So thank you guys so much for staying through the whole video and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. Please like and subscribe and share this video if you so choose. And I will talk to all of you later.
One of my first experiences in politics and government was asking Congressman Price to speak to my 8th grade class, an invitation he graciously accepted. He is a legendary legislator who has delivered for the Triangle for over 30 years, and he leaves big shoes to fill. I'd be honored to take his place representing the Triangle. As a loud and proud Democrat, I intend to use my voice to deliver real results for North Carolina families, just like David Price has done for decades. I'll always stand up for my principles and fight for inclusion, income equality, free access to quality health care, and combating climate change. I also believe we need more civility in our politics, and North Carolina deserves representatives in Washington who use their positions to make people's lives better, not to advance polarizing positions that embarrass our state and stand in the way of real progress. As my mom taught me, you can disagree without being disagreeable. In Congress, I'll use my voice to advocate for common-sense policies that encourage continued job growth and healthy communities. Many of these political battles divide us as people, threaten our democracy, and weaken America. North Carolinians are worried about affordable health care and rapid inflation. They are worried about their retirement savings and are frustrated by crowded interstates and infrastructure that hasn't kept up with our rapid growth. These are the issues that matter, and these are the issues I will focus on in Congress. About Clay Aiken, 43, is a 10th-generation North Carolinian who was born, raised and currently resides in Wake County, NC, part of North Carolina's Research Triangle. Aiken studied and taught special education prior to his appearance on American Idol in 2003. He went on to use his platform to become an advocate for full inclusion of children with special needs, including founding the National Inclusion Project. Aiken has also advocated for humanitarian efforts in war-torn and tragedy-stricken countries on behalf of UNICEF as a National Goodwill Ambassador. Aiken is a lifelong Democrat running in the newly drawn NC-06. The region's current congressman, Representative David Price, announced his retirement in October after serving in Congress since 1987. Chip in now and help Clay's grassroots campaign. Paid for by Clay Aiken for North Carolina.